So welcome everybody. I'm Marcia Stefanick. I'm the director of the Wisdom Center, which is Women's Health and Sex Diversity in Medicine. And soon everyone will quiet down. I'm actually just here to kind of like buffer it so that we can get everybody here. So I'm going to tell you about Wisdom because many of you don't know what it is. And so this is actually, we're doing this in partnership with the Department of Genetics with my good friend Mike Snyder, who will come up after I finish telling you about Wisdom. Just so you know what the Wisdom Center is, I'm the director. We have a really small group. You can meet Tio Pricing and Amy Lang there. We actually went through a 2-year strategic planning process under Phil Pizzo, so that's how far back we go, and came up with our vision statement, healthy women and men from conception through the life course. And our mission is advancing human health across the lifespan through research and education in women's health, biology of sex differences, and gender medicine. So our history is the strategic planning. Most of the people who were on the executive committee have moved on. We did have 18 faculty, so it was something where we had a lot of deliberations about what it was that we wanted to be. We were launched in 2013 with funding from all of the departments of the School of Medicine and the Dean's Office. In 2016, we were funded again. In 2020, because of the Dean's tax, we no longer were getting funding from the departments, and so we really kind of had to shrivel down. Plus, if you remember what happened in 2020, that was kind of a hard time for us. We did change the name this last summer to Women's Health and Sex Diversity in Medicine. We had been sex differences, but realized that intersex and all of the spectrum of sex as well as gender is worth studying. We do have an advisory board of 21 faculty who meet with us and discuss what we should do and be. Some of them do reviews for us for our Sea Grant program. If anybody's interested, we're always rotating people, so we'd be happy to do that. And if you didn't know it, we have representatives from almost all of the clinical departments, and basic science departments and almost all of the clinical departments. So we have faculty that meet once a year at a Sea Grant workshop and try to get people in their departments to actually apply for our seed funds, which aren't great. They're 20 to 25K, but it's enough to do a pilot study, a feasibility study. If you've only been studying males, it's a great chance to say, hey, I want to find out what's happening with females or intersex or whatever you might be interested in. This is our website. And just so you know, we did sponsor in 2015 the organization of the study of sex differences here at Stanford. It was in Berg Hall, and actually that's the first time I heard David Page, and I said, I've got to get him back here. And we did try in 2018 to get him back, and we finally succeeded this year. But this was here at Stanford with all of the people interested in sex differences across the country and actually other countries as well. There's also something you may not know about, which is the Sex and Gender Health Education Summit. This was actually put together by a group of people from the Mayo Clinic and Texas in 2016, and they actually provided funds to every medical school dean's office in the country for one person to go to this summit. And fortunately, the deans sent me, so I got to hear this. And the goal was to try and get sex and gender education into medical school curricula so that people would know about sex differences and they would understand how gender, which is really the sociocultural factors that influence our biology, interface that and what their role in medicine and health is. We had another one in 2018, and fortunately I was sent there again. And then I became a member of the planning committee, and we had a third one by Zoom because the COVID hit. The fourth one was by Zoom because we still hadn't recovered. But there is one coming up, this in March in Boston, and we actually are sending one of our Stanford faculty to present at the meeting. And so Stanford is being represented at this summit. Hopefully it won't be canceled before then, because it does have gender in the title. The other thing I'll let you know is I've been on the advisory committee for the Office of Research on Women's Health in the past, played a role in the strategic planning process at that time when sex as a biological variable was really presented to everybody as something that's absolutely required. And if you don't really know how to do this, then that's one of the services we can provide, because we can tell you, we can try and advise you. So that is something that the Wisdom Center is happy to do. We being me, so I can help you as best I can. And then just so you know, if you're not aware, Stanford has an amazing history professor, Londa Schiebinger, who has created Gendered Innovations, which is a website at Stanford that's actually mostly through the EU is the one that's funding it. So Europe is way ahead of us on trying to understand the role of gender in medicine, as is Canada. So we are kind of behind, and we're probably going to fall farther behind. But at any rate, one of the things that Londa Schiebinger, who's a good colleague, and I did, so she's the director of this program, the project, and I'm one of the co-directors. But one of the things we did is we tried to figure out, how do you measure gender? It's not easy. And so we did a really hard project trying to look at gender as a sociocultural variable, and there's a reference there. And these slides will be posted on our website in case you're interested in any of the information. So just to let you know, we have an educational mission. We are trying to get sex differences into the medical school curriculum. I'm working with Dan Bernstein on how do we ensure that our medical students are learning important sex differences from medical and biological perspectives. We do have a scholarly concentration program in women's health and sex and gender minority health. We'll see how that holds up. I actually offer classes in the human biology program that are cross-listed through our Community Health and Prevention Research Master's program on current topics and controversies in women's health, sex and gender and human physiology and disease, and health impact of sexual assault and relationship abuse, which is a major public health issue that people don't talk much about. We also have a course on sexual function and diversity and queer health and medicine. Cleo Sarnquist has worked with us now to offer the global medical issues affecting women's health. We also have undergraduate intro-sim challenging sex and gender dichotomies in biology and medicine. And currently we aren't offering gender and intersectionality in global health, but Clea and I did that together. So our other education is this forum, which is an annual thing. It hasn't actually happened in person for several years. We also have an annual Women's Health Forum, and we often have special programs in the fall. So for our basic and translational series, we actually started before Wisdom was funded, working with the Cardiovascular Institute on a big conference on Beyond X and Y that included all 5 Stanford Institutes of Medicine. They were a big deal back then. It's not maybe as organized now. But we had some of the leaders in this area of sex differences presenting. We also then did one specifically on cardiovascular, molecular, and cellular mechanisms of heart failure. We've had series where we actually partner with the institutes and bring in people that they advise us to bring in to work with us on these different topics. And all of these symposia are on our website. You can actually get the YouTube for every one of these talks. Obviously, some of them are now getting outdated because this field is expanding so quickly, but these are a set. We did do a previous symposium with genetics called YX and YX, Sexy Chromosomes, with the Department of Genetics. We've done one with the Maternal Child Health Research Institute. We've done several with WHSDM. We then had to go online, and we tried webinars. So we had the cancer series, sex specific and sex differences. We had another webinar. The webinars didn't work out very well. We kind of abandoned that. And this is actually the first in-person basic translational symposium we've had for those many years. We are planning one now in immunology. It's a matter of being sure that we have the funding. The other thing I'll just quickly mention is the annual Women's Health Forum. We started this actually in OBGYN as a program, and then when Wisdom was launched, we took this over. We've had different topics, different themes, different keynotes, focusing more on community, so bringing people from the community who are interested in women's health. We did try working with Stanford Health Matters one year. We had one with Stanford Population Health Sciences, Why Sex and Science Isn't Enough. And actually we had Huntington Willard at that one as well, and Janine Clayton, who's the director of the Office of Research on Women's Health. We've had Kirsten Bibbins Domingo was the chair of the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force the year that we had her here. For our 10th annual Women's Health Forum, we had one of the leaders in global women's health. And then we also went online and tried sexual and gender minority health. And this year we're going to be actually having an entire women's health pavilion, so a whole tent at Health Matters that's going to be focusing on women across the life course. So it's basically speakers that will talk about contraception, pregnancy, and menopause, so kind of those big key points, but also displays. And so if you are around on May 17th, look for the Women's Health Pavilion. So with that, I'm going to pass this over to my colleague, Mike Snyder.
So I have the pleasure of introducing speakers for the session, this first part. And the very first speaker is David Page 1.0. This is David Page 2.0 coming in a little bit. So many of you know David. He's been a pioneer in the area of sex chromosomes, initially focused on reproductive biology, and now more recently branching out into other phenotypes and things beyond reproductive biology. He's an amazingly creative guy, amazingly creative thinker, and he just does all kinds of awesome stuff. So a little background on David. I guess you started at MIT as a fellow in 19, it's here, Marcia gave me all the cheat sheets. 88, is that right? No, faculty 88, 84 as a fellow, 88. So he's a long timer there, actually probably pretty close to the beginning, I guess. The first, there you go, first in everything. And then he joined the faculty in 88 and became president for a while from 2004, I think the longest serving president until 2020, so quite a few years. Just stepped down recently. We've been trying to get him here forever. It wasn't until he stepped down that he actually came and has joined our Symposium, so we're really delighted to have him. He's won all kinds of awards, all the members of the National Academy and National Academy of Science, American Academy, that sort of stuff. They also won a MacArthur Genius Award, so he's got a lot of the right credentials. So I think we got the right guy. So David, tell us your, for the 1.0 is going to be about the history of the X and Y chromosomes. 2.0 will be more of his latest science. So David, so fantastic to have you.